Hey folks, your OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the YG500. This is a mini LED projector, and by mini, it's not quite as small as a Pico unit powered by DLP, but it's reasonably small. Looking at the images, you don't get quite a good sense, but in reality it fits roughly on the palm of your hand. But it does have a fairly typical resolution of 800 by 480, so that's not 720p. It's not going to be crystal clear, but good enough for watching home cinemas, for streaming Netflix, YouTube at your house. The price point is also pretty good. It's currently selling, I believe, for under $100, which is reasonable, and it gets also a bit brighter than previous generation models of these generic LED projectors. What I kind of like is the design here, because it's a very kind of straightforward, almost tubular. It reminds me of early kind of film projectors. That's the same borrowed design, as opposed to being really boxy and wider rather than narrow. So this has a different look. On the side here, you have some basic specs. You can see it has 30,000 hours for the lens, which will last you, for 10, 20 years down the road, and a virtual screen size of 50 to 130 inches. Taking a look at some of the accessories, there's a very basic user guide documented in English. There's also the remote control, which uses IR technology, so you have to be pointing it directly at the unit for it to work, but it does have a very modern appearance. Reminds me of something by Apple or Xiaomi. There's access to a four-way navigation toggle, an OK key, back, menu, and selection keys for input. There's also media controls and power keys on the very top, so it works pretty well. It's comfortable to use. It takes two AAA batteries, which are not included. Next, there's also the power cable, which is used as a very standard kind of adapter. Has a decent cable length. There's also the connector for the AV if you are using RGB instead of VGA or HDMI. So from here you can see that, again, this is actually a reasonably portable unit. Again, not as small as a Pico unit, but it does still fit and can be held, again, using one hand. You can see that it has a fairly good construction quality. It's made out of a brushed kind of plastic and some aluminum accents. The lens here is currently being protected by a hardshell cap, but you can see that this is what it looks like. It definitely seems much more expensive in terms of design than the price would suggest. The company's logo, OMZER, is printed on the top, and there's also the keys on the top here, which are very thin, but you can use those to navigate between the menu, selecting input sources, OK, power, if you don't want to use the remote. So that's pretty nice. These are all ventilation grills, and there is a running fan, so you definitely hear it in the background if it's in a completely quiet environment to prevent it from overheating. And on the very back, you have access to the inputs, including the HDMI, aforementioned VGA. There's a USB, so you can plug in a thumb drive loaded with music, and it can read it back in its own file manager. AV 3.5mm jack for connecting to external speakers. There are built-in speakers, but they're a little bit tinny, as expected on something that's very low cost and very small in size. And there's also the power input, so a pretty basic design. What I do like is on the base there is a standard tripod mount. This is quite useful, especially as a portable projector. You can easily attach it onto a camera tripod and then position it on a screen for watching films. There is some keystone correction adjustments that you can access in the menu, but this is still a pretty nice way to get an elevated height. There's also rubber feet that prevents it from sliding around on a surface or a desk. Alright, so this is what the virtual screen is like. It's roughly at, I would say, 100 inches right now. And overall you can see that with a little bit of ambient light in the background, it still remains quite visible. The colors are actually fairly vibrant and well saturated. Obviously though, it's not going to be the most pixel dense or high-res projector. 800 by 480 is still going to be something that you can tell pixels apart, especially as you start zooming all the way in. With that being said, text is still fairly legible if you have it at a nice enough font size that it's not super small if you're looking at documents. It's not ideal for using it for PowerPoints and presentations specifically because of that. A lot of times they would recommend and advertise these smaller projectors for home cinema use just because videos tend to work better than small text. But you can see that overall it does work fairly well. Definitely a lot better than first generation small LED projectors we've seen about 2 years ago. Although they had the same resolution, those seemed much more pixelated and had worse color saturation than this one does now. However, the interface is heavily borrowed from those first generation models. We've even seen this on the ViviBright projector. It's very simple to navigate. We can just go through several different tabs to go through movies, MP4 files stored on your flash drive, music, photos, and text. You can also tap on input, and that will cycle through things like HDMI to mirror content from a computer monitor. Although it is legible, might be a little bit fuzzy if you have tiny font, so we can kind of tell that maybe by this New York Times page that's loaded up. But overall, it's not bad, and if you are giving a quick PowerPoint presentation, bring this to school or to a business conference, it does the job as well. So again, overall, pretty good picture quality. It's certainly better than I expected looking at the native resolution alone. And again, that's probably thanks to the advancements that they've made in the past few years to making the brightness stronger, in addition to just punching up the overall saturation level on these low-cost units. The projector itself can change focus by manual tuning, so you can kind of change this by playing around with it. You can also change the keystone by tilting it up or down on the projector lens itself, which is kind of cool. So if you have a wall that's slightly slanted, you can still get a good picture or a good effect. But these things are, again, manual and not automatic. So let's take a look at a quick video clip and see how it does for loading up a quick video. Of this video right now, I can see that the colors are fairly accurate looking as far as the color temperature. By default, it is a little cold. It's closer to a blue tint, but overall it's not bad, and again, it can be recalibrated through the settings if you want to dig a little deeper. So it certainly produces a good enough image for watching home cinema, for surfing on YouTube, Hulu, and again, enjoying content on the larger display with friends and family. Also makes for a good option if you are tight on space and you want to use this in a dorm or at an apartment that you don't have space, again, for a larger television set. This actually does a pretty good job. Fan noise is actually surprisingly quiet. There is a little noise that you can hear, but it's a lot more silent than competing models I've tested, which is great for enjoying the experience more. So that's the DG500 mini LED projector. I would say that this type of technology has gotten significantly better over the past 2 years. We've gone through endless iterations now on this channel, and the quality is not only brighter, it's a bit more vivid, but it just seems sharper, despite having a similar native resolution of 800 by 480. It's capable of course, inputting video sources up to 1080p with HDMI, but again, the output isn't quite as crisp as really expensive Pico models on the market. It actually gets pretty bright for a traditional LED unit, and again, its compact form factor will appeal to many. This is probably one of the best mini LED units that we've seen so far, just because of its design, its good performance, and the fact that it just basically works as you would expect, with actually reasonable brightness despite its small overall size. Sure, there are brighter units if you're looking at full home cinema projectors in the same price range. There are a few options available, perhaps by ViviBright, but that unit is about 4 times the size of this thing. So if you are looking for real portability to take with you for maybe a quick movie with friends on vacation, then this really is one of the better options we found, again, at this compact overall size. It's not tiny, it's not pocket sized, but I think that it's going to be good enough for people to stick into a backpack and to use. So you can check out more details about this in our official written review, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the DG500 Mini LED Projector.